Hey everyone, welcome to Lauren's Book Corner. I'm Lauren, and today I wanted to share with you my favorite books of 2025. So, 2025 has come to an end, which I can't believe. I feel like this year flew by in a blink. It just feels like it went really, really quickly. I know that it's probably cliche to say this, but as you get older, it does feel like time goes faster. And I just can't believe that we're heading into 2026. So I just have a stack of books in front of me. I looked through my list of books. As of today, it is New Year's Eve. So it's the last day of December 2025. I have read 99 books, which is really, really good for me. I'm probably going to finish one more book. I'm going to try to finish one more book so that I can hit 100, but if I don't, it's not that big of a deal. So these are chosen from the, 99 books that I've already read this year. And it's really hard to narrow down favorites because I love most of the books that I read. I have stopped forcing myself to read books that I'm not interested in. So if I start a book and it's not grabbing me or I just don't like something about it, I will DNF. So most of my books are 3 stars or higher. Towards the beginning of the year, I think I was pushing myself a little bit more to finish books, and then I just decided it's not worth it. It's not worth it. There's too many books out there to read to force yourself to read a book that you're not interested in, especially if you're reading for pleasure, right? So, let's just dive into these favorites. So the first one I want to talk about is by an author that I discovered in 2025, and she's an indie author, and I love her. I've almost read all of her books now. She has a series that has 3 books, and then she has 2 standalones, and I've read all but one of her books, which is her standalone romantic suspense. I haven't read that yet, but I plan to. And that is Lydia Hope. And this is her 3rd book in the Rick's Universe books, and it's called Seven Oars. This whole trilogy is fabulous. I love it. Now, because this is indie published, I will tell you that the editing could be a little better. There's definitely some spelling errors and things. I can look past that in a book if the story is good, and I'm going to tell you these stories are good. Now, these are probably not going to be for everybody. These are alien romances, okay? So if you're not a Star Wars or Star Trek fan, and you don't like the idea of a human woman falling in love with a humanoid alien, they are humanoid, they're not like super weird, you're not gonna like this series. I grew up loving Star Wars, and so this series, I don't know what it is about the series, but it just worked for me. This book in particular, I cannot get out of my mind, and this main character I just loved so much. So this series is I would read it in order. The first book is called I think it's Homecoming or Homegoing. And just look up Lydia Hope on Kindle Unlimited. All of her books, I think as of now, except for Seven Oars, because that just came out this year, are available on Kindle Unlimited. But this is about a woman who is part alien, so like one of her parents was human and one of her parents was alien. And she ends up stranded on a pirate spaceship and with a bunch of other women who are traveling in space. And it was full of adventure. I don't even know how to explain to you about Lydia Hope's writing. Her writing is so addictive. I get so sucked into her stories. I can't put them down. And the characters just jump off the page. There's adventure. There is romance. but there's so much more to her books than romance. There's like, they're kind of survival stories to some degree. And this one in particular gets a little bit dark because these women are treated not so well, if you know what I mean, at times. And so they're trying to survive, and they're kind of banding together trying to survive. And I just loved it. I ate it up. So it may not be for everybody, but I highly, highly recommend checking out Lydia Hope, and I really enjoyed this book. I could say all of hers because I've given all of the books I've read by her, I'm pretty sure, 5 stars. So yeah, love her books. I cannot wait. Hope she comes out with more. These are not in any particular order. I'm not ranking from like 10 to 1. These are just all favorites. I could count this as 1. I was going to count this as 1, but we'll just talk about it. I loved all 3 of these books. So this is I mentioned this in my January TBR, and so I wanted to show you guys because I really, really loved these books. This is the Starfall, I always say it wrong, Starfall Point trilogy by Miss Molly Harper. Now these books come out as Audible originals, and then eventually they are available in print copies, and I loved this trilogy so much I went and bought all the print copies. She does have a spin-off series coming out. The first 2 books are already out on Audible that is set in this same island. It's like a little island, I think in New England area. Is it Massachusetts? I want to say. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, it's not like a tropical island. Think like New England area. This series is so much fun. So it starts off with Witches Get Stuff Done. And these are, if you took a cozy mystery and a paranormal romance and you mashed them together with a good dose of humor in there, that's what you'll get with this. So you're going to get a little bit of spice, which you typically don't get in a cozy mystery. It's not a lot. I feel like people who don't like spice would still really enjoy these books. You could easily skip over this scene. Like this book, when I was reading it, I thought there wasn't going to be any spice because it didn't seem like a spicy book. And the spicy scene actually took me off guard because I was like, whoa, where did that come from? But this is really good. So in this one, you're following Riley Everett, who goes to Starfall, I can't talk today, Starfall Point, because she found out she has inherited her aunt's like estate or something like that, and she didn't even know she had an aunt. So this is very confusing to her. She gets there, she meets amazing friends, finds out she has secret powers, there's mystery, there's ghosts. It's just it's a hoot. It's a lot of fun. And then in Big Witch Energy, we follow one of the friends that she meets, and it's a second chance romance with found family. There is an overarching mystery in this trilogy, so I do recommend reading these in order. I wouldn't read them out of order. You kind of could, but like you would be spoiled for the big mystery. So each book kind of has its own mystery, but then there's this like overarching mystery that you are trying to figure out through the whole series. This was my favorite book in the trilogy. And then the last one is called Never Been Witched, and this one was my least favorite, but it was still really good. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. And this one is just a really good conclusion to the story, and we get to follow Alice, who is the other friend. These do have kind of magical elements to them. Our heroines are like witches, but it's like fairy tale witches. It's not like creepy, weird, that kind of thing. Think Harry Potter, that kind of thing. So anyway, I loved these and I would highly recommend them. Another trilogy that I read in 2025 that made me fall in love with an author is the Dragonheart Legacy series by Nora Roberts. This series starts off with The Awakening, which is book 1. This was excellent. I gave it 5 stars. And then we had book 2, which is The Becoming. This was my favorite book. Excuse me, my favorite book in the trilogy. This was a 5-star read for me. 6-star, I loved it. And then we have book 3, which is The Choice. This one was not as good as the other two, but I still really, really enjoyed it because I loved the characters, and I think that's really what made this trilogy for me. So in this series, you're following Breen, who is, this is a portal fantasy. So it starts out in our world in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She's living with her best friend Marco, and both of them have kind of felt like outcasts in their family, and Breen's mom is just not a nice person. She does not treat Breen well at all. And Breen kind of just, she's like a people pleaser, so she just always does what her mom wants her to because she just so desperately wants to be loved by her mom. And in the beginning of the series, you find out that Breen inherits some money from her dad. This is not a spoiler. It happens very early on in the book. And because of that, she gets to go to Ireland, which is a place she's always wanted to go. That's where her dad's from. And her dad and her mom got divorced when she was younger. And she's been estranged from her dad. She hasn't seen him since she was like 10 or 11 years old. And she's always wondered why. Why did he leave? Because he was always such a good father. He really loved her mom. Even after the divorce, he was like, you know, really involved. He just kind of went on a business trip one day and then didn't come back. And they didn't really know what happened to him. And her mom always just made it out to be like he didn't care and he just didn't want anything to do with them, but that's never sat right with Breen. So she decides that her and Marco, her best friend, he's more like a brother to her, they've known each other since they were kids, are going to travel to Ireland and look for her dad. And that's where the adventure begins. She goes through a portal to a magical world. There's dragons, there's found family. It was just such a fun ride. I really, really enjoyed it. If you like character-driven stories that focus mostly on family and character growth, then you would probably really like this. If you're looking for high epic fantasy that has a lot of plot, this is not for you. The plot is not the main point of this story. It's definitely the characters. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Okay, I have to stretch my leg. It is falling asleep. Okay, here we go. Next up is another fantasy. That is The Road of Bones by Demi Winters. I ate this up. I loved this. I listened to it on audio. This is the first book in the Ashen series, and book 3 comes out in 2026. I'm so excited. I have to read book 2 yet. I have book 2 on my shelves. It's actually back here. This is a Viking fantasy. So it's got Norse mythology. You've got our main character, I always forget her name, Scylla, is traveling with a group of, I think they're called mercenaries or like swords for hire, because she's trying to basically flee for her life. Her and her dad are attacked by this group of bad men, and she's very confused by this because she has no idea why they're being attacked, and her father just tells her, you need to run, and so she does. She flees for her life. There's adventure. Scylla is also a softer female character, which I really liked. She's not kind of a, you know, in a lot of romantic-y stories, I feel like our female lead is very angsty and like, you know, she has a sword and she's got, you know, revenge that she's out to get. And that's fun. I do like that. But there's just something really nice about a character that she's a little bit more timid, but still has, you know, she's still strong. She's strong, but in a more gentle way. And I really like that. I feel like I relate more to a character like that. And yeah, there's found family, there's adventure. I just loved it. There is a little spice in this book, but not a lot, really. I just like the way that Demi Winters writes and the world that she built and the characters. So yeah, I would highly recommend this. If you like romantasy where there's kind of a quest or like a journey, this one's a lot of fun. I think I'm going to do all the fantasies first because I read a lot of fantasy. Also, I read Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. This was so good. I loved this. This is more of a magical realism, so it's set in our world, but there are magical kind of Alice in Wonderland type elements to this that make it really fun. So we're following Opal, I think is her name. Yeah, she is such a fun character. Opal is like if Anne of Green Gables grew up in the hood, like, or like had a, I mean, Anne has a rough life to some degree, but like didn't get adopted by Marilla and Matthew and had to be a little more scrappy. Okay, Opal is very scrappy and I just love her. She is so fiercely loyal to her little brother, and Opal's like in her 20s, and she and her brother live in this like dead-end motel with the owner of the motel is kind of this like very gruff older woman who in her own way loves these kids, and you just love her because of it. She's grumpy, but you can tell she cares about them. But Opal's whole goal is just to take care of her brother. Their mom has passed away, and she wants to get her brother out of this dead-end town. It's an old coal mining town, and so the air quality is really bad, and her brother has lung issues. And so she's always, everything she does is, you know, for her brother. And it just makes her like a character that just I feel strongly for, you know what I mean? Like you fall in love with the character. But anyway, Opal ends up getting a job at Starling House, and Starling House is this mansion that's always been part of the town. Everybody has a story about it, and it's kind of rumored to be haunted, and there's like only, you know, hearsay about it. Nobody's really ever been in Starling House, and it just has all of these ghost stories surrounding it. Well, Opal ends up getting a job for the one and only resident of Starling House, who's a very grumpy man, helping him clean the house. And strange things start to happen. And it's a fun ride. This is very whimsical, so if you don't like things that have kind of Alice in Wonderland, fairy tale kind of feel, you probably won't like this. But I loved it, and it has like found family. It was a really good book. I cried, I laughed, I really enjoyed it. So there's that. Another author that I fell in love with in 2025 and discovered in 2025 is T. Kingfisher. I found her because of reading Alex E. Harrow, because I was looking up books like Starling House, and T. Kingfisher was recommended. And the first book I read by her was Hemlock and Silver. This is a book of hers that came out in 2025. This is a very loose, like Snow White retelling. It's not really a Snow White retelling. There's just bits and pieces from that fairy tale that kind of play into this. But this is about a woman named Anja, who is a healer, but specifically a healer who specializes in poisons. She's very interested in finding antidotes to poisons. And I love Anja because she's kind of, I would say, on the spectrum. And I just relate to the way her brain works. She gets very hyperfixated on things, and like she just has this desire to like find these antidotes, and that's the most important thing to her, and she doesn't like being distracted from her, you know, her missions that she's on to find these antidotes. But she is commissioned by the king to help his daughter because his daughter keeps getting sick, and he thinks she's being poisoned and they don't know why. So she goes to stay at this like remote castle, and weird things start happening, especially with mirrors. And this has some horror elements to it. Definitely like some, I didn't find it scary, but it's like a little bit creepy. So if you don't like a little horror-ish elements, you may not like this. It's not a horror book though, because this has a lot of hope and humor in it. If you've ever read T. Kingfisher, she weaves humor into her books so well, and it like balances out the horror elements and the like the scary elements really, really well. I loved this. I gave this 5 stars, and I will reread this. That's how much I liked it. So there's that. The other one by her that I read that I absolutely loved is Sword Heart. it was almost a tie between this and A House with Good Bones. I think it's called A House with Good Bones. I really liked that one too. That's more of a horror book. Pretty much anything I've read by T. Kingfisher this year, I gave 5 stars. I don't think any of the books I read by her I gave less than 5 stars because I liked them so much. But this one won me out just a little bit more because this is a romance and I love romance. This is a slow burn fantasy romance about a woman who is in her 30s, so she's not a young spring chicken, and a man who is trapped in a sword and kind of pops out like a genie would from a lamp. And they go on a mission together with a group of characters, and it is just kind of a slow, meandering mission. Nothing really crazy happens, but the whole time you get to see these two characters fall in love. And I mean really fall in love. I'm not talking like, oh, they think each other is attractive. Like, they really form a bond, and it was so beautiful to read about. And by the end, I was just in tears because of how they feel for each other and care for each other. It's funny, it's witty. It was just such a fun ride. I really, really enjoyed it. Definitely one of my favorite romances of 2025. I don't know if this will be for everyone, but it works for me. I love the whimsical way that T. Kingfisher writes. I like the weirdness of her writing. I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. So this does have a little bit of spice in it. It's very minimal, very, very minimal. It's barely there, really. And it's written very tastefully, so I feel like most adults could read this, even if you don't like spice. I don't think it would offend you. And I forgot to mention, this does not have spice. It has adult content, but there's like fade to black. Like, there's no open door scenes in that one. Okay, last 2 books. This video is long. Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. This was my very first book by this author, and this blew me away. I gave this this has to have like 6 stars. This is not a typical book that I would pick up, but I got it through Book of the Month, and this is not a happy story. This is not an easy book to read. It made me cry. It was hard to read, but I really, really liked it. There's mystery. Basically, it's about this father and his children who are living on an island off the coast of, I think, Antarctica, and their job is to guard a seed, or take care of a seed vault. So it's like a place where you keep a bunch of different types of seed specimens from all around the world in case the world would implode and we need to replant nature. And apparently this is a real thing. Apparently, from what I understand. Not this story, but like the idea of a seed vault is a real thing. But things on the island haven't been going well, and so he and his children are going to need to leave soon. We know that at the beginning of the story, but we don't know much about them, and things just seem a little bit off with the family. There's just like this sense of like unease that she kind of puts into the story that I thought she did such a good job with. And one day a woman washes up on shore, and this is very strange because boats do not pass by this island. They have no idea where she's come from, why she's there. And so I could not stop turning the pages because I wanted to know what was going on. This does have some romance in it, but this is not a happily ever after story. I just want to let you guys know that. So it does deal with some very heavy, dark topics, but there's still a lot of hope and really good messaging in here. I don't agree with everything. I'm going to be honest. Her philosophies that I could tell were kind of put in here on certain topics, I don't necessarily agree with, but the underlining theme of this book was the love of a parent for a child, and I thought that was so beautifully expressed in the story. It had me sobbing. So I would highly recommend this if you like mysteries and a harder hitting story with a really good message. This is a good one. And last, but certainly not least, is probably, I said I didn't have these in any kind of order, but this was probably my favorite book of the year. I really think it was my favorite book of the year. And I have it in a bind up, and that is Years by Laverl Spencer. This book, I have not read a historical romance in a very long time. And this was the first historical romance I read in 2025. And this book knocked my socks off. This book follows a young girl she's not a young girl, she's a young woman. She's like on the cusp of adulthood. She's 18 and she's moving to the Dakotas to become a school teacher. And when she gets there, she meets the Teddy, or Theodore, who is a wheat farmer in this area, and he and his family have always hosted the teacher at their house, and he thinks that the teacher that's coming is a man. And so when he gets there and finds out that Linnea, our main character, is a woman, he is not happy, and he is grumpy, and he's not afraid to show it. And these two characters butt heads so bad, and it's hilarious. And Linnea, as a main character, reminds me so much of Anne Shirley. She is such a charismatic, fun character with such a zeal for life. And the way Laverl Spencer writes this romance, it's an age gap romance, so there is quite an age gap between Linnea and Teddy. But the way that she writes their love story, the way that she writes these characters that are flawed, that are not perfect. Teddy doesn't always say the right thing. Linnea doesn't always make the right choice. And you get to see their life as it progresses through about 2 years we get to spend with these characters. And it was so good. There is really heart-wrenching things in the story. There's really funny things. It's just about their life. You get to learn about, and it's on, I should mention, this is set during World War I. It's right on the cusp of World War I. So there was a lot of things that happened in history during that time, not just the war. The Spanish influenza went through a lot of people's homes and wiped out a lot of people. So you do deal with death in this story, but it was so, so, so good. And I laughed, I cried, it was one of the best books I read this year for sure. So that is the end of my favorites for 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments, what were some of your favorite books that you read this year? What type of books do you like to read? Do you read fantasy? Do you read romance? Do you like nonfiction, fiction? Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful and happy new year, and I will talk to you later.